Football on a Friday. I'll take that. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your time yesterday and for the rest of the weekend. We have football on a Friday, actual college football, and then worldly football, soccer over there, the World Cup. I'm a World Cup lunatic. I'll be live streaming USA versus England today at 2 p.m. By the way, come hang out. I don't like soccer, Lou. Do you like America? USA versus England. 2 o'clock today live on this channel. World Cup 2022. Southern Cal versus Notre Dame. The leprechauns versus the condoms is what it appears to be to me. I love that this game is back to being a huge game. And now I know it's always a big game because it's a rivalry and these two teams play every year. I just mean from a national perspective, a playoff perspective, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot on the line here. Notre Dame's out of the playoff race. A couple of disappointing early season losses for them. Marshall and Stanford in particular. The Ohio State game, okay, you can sort of understand that. Notre Dame is clearly playing better football right now than they were playing earlier in the year when they lost to teams like Marshall and Stanford at home. But they got to travel out west to a red-hot Southern Cal team. What a turnaround for Southern Cal. I think everybody knew they were going to be improved. I mean, last year was just so bad for them. They really had nowhere to go but up. I think we were 4-8 last year. It's the worst winning percentage they've had in a season in 50 years. It was just horrendous. They bring Lincoln Riley in. He brings half his offense with him from Oklahoma, as well as some other key transfers from around the country. Jordan Addison at wide receiver, Travis Dye at running back, who's been hurt, and it's worked. And look, I know Trojan fans, we're going 15-0. People weren't really sure how this would work. Kind of, kind of clobbering a lot of different pieces together from different parts of the country, from different teams through the transfer portal. It's worked well at Southern Cal, at least offensively. Their defense still leaves a little bit to be desired, but that's not a huge surprise, again, to anybody that's paid attention to Lincoln Riley teams at Oklahoma after the last 5 or 6 years, right? So not a huge surprise. They give up some yards. They give up some points. However, they create a ton of turnovers defensively. So if you're looking for a positive for Southern Cal defensively, clearly it's the turnover. I think they're first in the country, I believe, in turnover margin, but they create a ton of turnovers defensively. And if they can get a couple of turnovers tonight, that's going to be key for them, I think, if they want to get this win at home against Notre Dame. And make no mistake about it, Notre Dame would like nothing more than to show up at the Coliseum tomorrow night. In the first year in a long time where Southern Cal's really had something significant to play for this late in the season, and just rain all over the condom parade tonight for the USC Trojans. Notre Dame would love to do that. Southern Cal, of course, is 10-1. Their only loss on the road against Utah, where Utah went for a 2-point conversion late in the game to win instead of an extra point to tie it up. Perfect throughout the season other than that, record-wise, for Southern Cal. So they're sitting there at 10-1. Controlling their destiny, really. They've got a date in the Pac-12 title game next week against probably Oregon, which will be a hell of a game. But if Southern Cal wins out, I mean, they're in a position, if they win their next 2 games, they're in the college football playoff. I know a lot of people are worked up right now about where certain teams are ranked compared to other teams, primarily LSU and Alabama compared to a certain couple of other teams, Southern Cal being one of them. Look, LSU is going to lose to Georgia in the SEC title game. It's possible LSU loses to Texas A&M. Now, I wouldn't call it likely, but LSU is not a great team. The West is down this year. LSU is going to lose. If it's not this weekend, it'll be next weekend against Georgia in the SEC title game. And if Southern Cal handles their business and they win, that game's on a Friday, I believe, the Pac-12 title game. If they win that day and LSU loses the next on conference championship weekend, Southern Cal's in the playoffs. I'm just telling you. They are not keeping a 12-1 Southern Cal with a Pac-12 title out of the playoffs. So Southern Cal controls its own destiny. They've got the toughest path, though. If you look at all the playoff-eligible teams that are left, however many you want to say that is, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Southern Cal, Clemson, LSU to a lesser degree, however far down the list you want to go, Southern Cal's got the toughest 3-game stretch. It started last week with UCLA, big win for the Trojans, intercity rivalry there against a top 15 opponent. Southern Cal gets the win. Now, in comes Notre Dame, another top 15, top 20 opponent. If you win this one, you're still alive, and then you get to play next week against another top 10 or top 15 opponent, and probably Oregon. That'll be 3 games in a row to close out the season for Southern Cal against ranked opponents, mostly within the top 10 and top 15. If Southern Cal wins those 3 games, they're getting in the playoffs. It's a huge boost to their strength of schedule or anything else that the playoff committee wants to look at to try to compare teams. So everything is on the line today for Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, and the USC Trojans. They're favored at home tomorrow night. I keep saying tonight. Well, if you're watching this video tomorrow, it is tonight. Saturday night. How about that? Saturday night, 7:30. 7:30 or 8, whatever it is. They're a 5.5-point home favorite against Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame can win this game. Will they? Will they? No, I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they will. I think they can. I don't know. Are there people out there? You know, I guess what I'm saying is, if there's people out there going, Notre Dame's got no chance. Yeah, they got a chance. How would they pull this off? Well, Notre Dame's a physical team. They like to run the ball. They've got physical lines of scrimmage. They've got a tight end that's really good. And tight end was a problem for Southern Cal in that Utah game. That Kincaid for Utah ate Southern Cal alive in that game. And Notre Dame's got one in Mayer that can do the same thing. But primarily, Notre Dame is a physical team. This is going to be the most physical team Southern Cal has played this year, with the exception being Utah. Utah and Notre Dame, the 2 most physical teams, and Southern Cal lost to Utah. Now, it was a close, hard-fought game on the road for Southern Cal, like I mentioned, where Utah scored a late touchdown. Extra point would have tied it up and sent it to overtime. Instead, Utah decided at home to go ahead and go for 2 and get the win. They got it and they won. I think this is going to be a good game. The only outcome really that would surprise me in this game would be a blowout one way or the other. I don't expect Southern Cal to win this game by 3 touchdowns. I don't expect Notre Dame to win this game by 3 touchdowns. I do think Southern Cal wins the game at home. Defense is going to force a turnover or 2, I think, which is something that offensively Notre Dame ain't afraid to do. And honestly, I just feel like Southern Cal has been the better team over the course of the season. And I am taking into account the fact that Notre Dame is playing better football today than they were playing in September when they lost those, when they had those 2 bad losses to Stanford and Marshall. I completely agree. So the Notre Dame man can type that if they want. I agree. You are playing better. I just feel like this is on the road, long way to travel, West Coast, biggest home game for Southern Cal in a long, long time. This reminds me of the Southern Cal Notre Dame games from 15, 16, 17 years ago. It really does. Some of those great, like just all-time great Southern Cal Notre Dame games from 15, 16, 17 years ago. They'd play in the Coliseum. You'd see Reggie Bush on the playing and Matt Leinart and those guys. And you look over on the sideline and Will Ferrell and Snoop Dogg. Those were the sort of the heyday in my lifetime of the Southern Cal Notre Dame rivalry. And this feels the closest thing to that we've seen since then. I'm excited to watch this game. I think it's going to be a great game. I've watched several Southern Cal games this year. They've looked really, really good at times. Other times they've looked a little shaky, mostly defensively. And losing Travis Dye is a blow, but I don't think it's going to slow Southern Cal down. I think they get the win. I think they keep on rolling, keep their playoff hopes alive. It's going to come down to that Pac-12 title game for them. Southern Cal favored by 5.5. I think Southern Cal wins by a touchdown. I'm going to take Southern Cal and lay the 5.5. Southern Cal wins somewhere in the neighborhood of 37-30 would be my guess. USA men's national team against those scallywags from across the pond. England today at 2 p.m., Friday, 2 p.m. Who's playing now? The Netherlands and Ecuador, all tied up at 1 apiece. The Netherlands and Ecuador, and like I mentioned, got some college football on too. Texas and Baylor underway. Baylor actually winning that game 2-0, a safety early in the first quarter there for the Baylor man. And they're up 2-0 over the Longhorns. Tonight, Florida and Florida State play. Friday night, I'll be live streaming that game too. So if soccer's not your thing, that's fine. I'll be live streaming Florida versus Florida State tonight at 7:30, so come hang out with us for that one too. All right, enjoy rivalry weekend and these games this weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good morning.